Resident Evil 6.
Coming as a surprise announcement early in 2012, Resident Evil 6 appeared primed to reinfect the world, casting fan favorites Leon and Chris, along with Wesker's son Jake, into a new game with a scope never before seen in the series. With Capcom's franchise reinvigoration came concerns about the series' changing direction towards becoming a game with more mainstream appeal by shedding some of its horror roots in favor of a more action-oriented approach. Was Capcom able to revive Resident Evil into a more powerful creature than ever before? Not really, as the sixth game fails to meet the lofty standards of a modern action game while delivering a horror experience light on scares. The main plot of Resident Evil 6 is bigger than ever, spanning between three duos: Leon and Helena, Chris and Piers, and Jake and Sherry. Each duo is investigating a different BOW attack, eventually crossing paths because of the new C virus. It'd be easy to assume that the three individual campaigns would form a complete interlinking adventure, but that would be an overestimation of the weak narrative that's on display. While each pair runs into one another at some point during the game, there's no real significance besides a quick cutscene or a cooperative boss battle. The duo's actions do directly affect the others, but their consequences usually lack significance beyond creating minor obstructions for the other teams. Over its massive 20-hour length, Resident Evil 6 shows some very rough edges. Although Jake and Sherry's campaign, a clear standout of the bunch, does provide some hope for future installments. As a whole, however, Resident Evil 6's plot is a jarring mishmash of action and drama that doesn't fit together because it tries to please everyone, but ends up pleasing no one. The combat itself has seen some major overhauls. Using a gun has become the standard left trigger to aim, right trigger to shoot gameplay. There's also been additions that give players the ability to dodge while aiming or take cover. While the gunplay of Resident Evil 6 has been upgraded, the melee combat has become simply atrocious. The standard issue knife is gone in favor of hand-to-hand strikes, or strained squares in the action bar. Striking is a crucial component to staying alive, providing one of the few ways to defend yourself when zombies get in close. While it's a vital aspect to combat now, melee strikes are extremely clumsy, with a complete lack of targeting, and hits that clip through enemies with no effect. Coup de Grace's return, redeeming the melee combat just enough to make it passable. Like Resident Evil 5, players will be straddled with a partner whether they like it or not. AI partners are largely useless, and aside from a few partner actions and some cover fire, human partners are definitely the way to go. The gameplay might have been redeemed if it was fun to fight against the undead, but unfortunately, fighting the zombies in Javo is a complete slog. We've all been taught to destroy the brains of zombies, but in Resident Evil 6, undead brains seem to be impervious to bullets. In a game that tries to keep ammo counts low, the undead seem to take a staggering number of bullets to defeat, no matter how good a player is at targeting a critical hit point. Even the trademark boss fights that have given the series much acclaim fail to raise any heart rates. There are a number of boss types that seem recycled from previous games of the series, which frustrate more than entertain. Even when a new boss enemy appears, the battles are long and drawn-out affairs rely on quick-time events frequently. Resident Evil 6 also lacks helpful cues during boss encounters, leading to wasted ammo and time. And with bosses that are encountered multiple times, players can expect to get bored and irritated very quickly. One of the few places where Resident Evil 6 really succeeds is with the visuals. The character designs of each duo are handled beautifully as returning characters retain many of their familiar traits, and new characters are distinct and have unique personalities. The character modeling is absolutely stunning, each hero being rendered right down to minor details. From Leon's gently flowing locks to the moving subtle ridges on Ada's shirt, Resident Evil 6 is some of the best looking characters of this generation. The visuals remain great looking in the settings too. The locations will feel very familiar to veteran Resident Evil players, but they managed to hold on to an aesthetic all their own throughout the lengthy campaign. If there's one gripe to make about the environments, it would have to be that over the multiple playthroughs, gamers will have to revisit the same locations far too often. The Resident Evil series has usually been one of the best when it comes to creating a creepy environment, but in this 6th installment, that doesn't seem to be a priority anymore. The sound design is content with making sure explosions rumble properly and enemies sound appropriately disgusting.
We gotta put an end to this mess!
During some occasions, the classic tension returns, with the only audible sounds being the echoing of footsteps inside narrow, unlit rooms. But these moments don't come up often enough. It's a shame how the atmosphere is broken by gunfire, explosions, and rushes of enemies that attack in head-on swarms. Overall, Resident Evil 6 isn't necessarily a bad game, but one that lacks clear direction and substance. The game benefits a great deal from its improved combat and shows some signs of life with the introduction of Jake and Cherry, but it isn't enough to save it from being overshadowed by stronger titles to come this year. Gamers should give Resident Evil 6 a try at some point to still make it a priority during this busy holiday season.
We just received reports that hostiles are gathering around Bosawan.